Hello there. Let me just pull up the chat on my computer for my old eyeballs. Thank you to those of you who are coming out today. There we go. You'd think I would remember to grab my glasses before these things, but you should really just be impressed that I'm not in my robe. So how is everyone doing on this lovely Wednesday? I think it is. Been having a difficult time keeping track of what day of the week it is. I don't know about you guys. Hello Candy, hello Thomas, hello Bob, hello Alice, Robert, Jessica, Josh, Marissa. It's good to see all of you. So I never got around to figuring out a topic for today. I think what I'm going to do for next week, I'm going to try and do this every Wednesday at 1 p.m. is to put up a poll on my community tabs on both YouTube as well as my Instagram story and get some suggestions from you guys on what you'd like for me to talk about or what we could do down here in the fish room to just, you know, give us something to do on Wednesday early afternoons, for me at least. I'm sure people are here from all over the world. My goodness, there goes that chat. Thank you guys so much for coming. So things down here are pretty much business as usual. I'm hoping that this week, if the weather holds out, I'm going to run the power back to my greenhouse again and get those tubs flooded so I can start moving stuff out to the greenhouse because it stays plenty warm out there. So that'll be the official start of summer tubbing, though the yard tubs will probably still have to wait a few weeks. Let's see. Oh, that's nice, Jeff, helping your neighbors. I don't really have any neighbors. Sort of the beauty of living in nowhere. I mean, I think there's like 5 other houses on my street, but none of them are particularly close. So yeah, I figured I would get the greenhouse prepped, get the fans running, get the air pump hooked back up, get the filters in there, flood them fully, and my lilies are already throwing out tons of leaves, and all of the marginals are getting huge, so I'm gonna have to split some of that, and I thought that's something we might be able to do. Now, I'm not sure how good my connection will be out in the greenhouse. Living here in the middle of nowhere, it can be pretty spotty, but I could try it. So let me know if that's something you guys would like for me to do live, is like plant prep, because it's a bit overdue. Thanks for stopping by, Leslie. I appreciate it. Another idea I had was just like, you know, doing maintenance live. There's a few tanks that I want to reset. We could always do something like that, but I'm concerned that all you guys would see would be a whole lot of my butt, which doesn't sound very exciting to me, at least. And yeah, so I mean, we could also do themes on specific fish, where I could have fish or plants pulled for us to discuss live. So again, keep your eyes peeled on my community tab or on YouTube as well as my Instagram, and I'll come up with a few ideas, either from the comments here or from those, and then we can do a poll and sort of figure it out together. I would like a bit more structure with this. Someone asked how my paludarium is doing. I mean, it's in exactly the same spot it was before. I'm apprehensive about getting stuff mail order in. I don't want to risk any additional exposure here. So, I mean, plants are growing. I'm misting it every other day to saturate the coconut coir that is the background for the moss and the little ficus I put on there for it to sort of establish. And I may have to break down the biorb up in my living room because I don't have any distilled water. And I'd ordered a water filter to be able to make my own, but it hasn't come yet, and they're not sure when it will. So I may end up moving some of those plants down here. We'll see. I mean, those aren't really the plants I want to put in here, but if it's a difference between the plants surviving or not, I think I may have to do that. And that could be something we do live too. And then for my second channel, I can always reset that biorb back up when I'm able to care for it adequately. Could I do a video suggesting plants to grow semi-aquatically? Yeah, I mean, almost all aquarium plants, in all honesty. Very, very few aquarium plants in the wild grow fully underwater. The vast majority of them grow with their feet wet, and they may get flooded during the rainy season, but they're not generally fully underwater much at all. So, I mean, of course, there's exceptions. But, you know, the vast majority of aquarium plants convert beautifully to be used as immersed growth. And there's quite a few of the terrarium plants, specifically things like Phoetonias and some of the peperomias and crypts do really awesome in a humid environment like that. Some of the mini orchids, a bunch of the ferns, many fern types. In fact, when I was in Florida, I was gifted a huge clump of ferns from the fish farm, the fish store that I visited, and I have that growing now out of the top of my corner matin filter. Thank you, Bob, for the super chat. I can't tell you guys how much I appreciate those. Especially right now. I'm sure any of you that do YouTube have noticed that your revenue is plummeting dramatically despite putting in more work and getting more views. So it's a bit scary, but it is what it is. You know, I'm really lucky in that, you know, we still have income coming in. I know that a lot of people are not in that situation, and I can't tell you how much my heart goes out to you. I do have lots of amounts, that says Hoax Marion, I think. I do have a ton of rainwater, but it is full of quite a bit of debris, and I don't really have a good way to filter it. And my concern with the Biorb for using that is it's made out of acrylic, so you really don't want to wipe down the glass much. So the reason I had ordered the filter was to actually be able to filter my rainwater to be able to use that. Again, I just have to wait for it to get here. So, you know, it is what it is. But yeah, for those of you that are interested in playing with plants that grow outside of the water, and if you have planted tanks at home, don't be afraid to try them. Just keep in mind you're going to need to mist them or cover the tank with like saran wrap and keep it really, really humid in there while they convert. And you may see a lot of the old leaf sort of wither and wilt, but the new growth will be much more robust and often larger. Thank you, Brad, for the super chat. How long after a rescape can you put shrimp back in? You could do it right away as long as, you know, the tank is not, you know, I mean, I would do it right away. I don't even actually usually pull stuff out for a rescape unless I'm changing out the substrate. Are my pet shops still open? Are all our local stores? Only essential businesses are open. So the grocery store, the drugstore, they have limited hours and limited people allowed in at once. The pet stores are considered essential. But again, like I know at our grocery store, they have lines painted on the floor, and you have to stay 6 feet apart, and you can only go one direction down the aisles. And if you forget something behind you, you have to go through the whole store and start back at the beginning. And masks and gloves are required, and you know, I mean, everyone's I think in the same situation. We've been with stay-at-home orders for a little over 4 weeks now. My kids are upstairs doing cyber school at the kitchen table as we speak. So it's actually a good time for me to come down here and get out of their hair. You know, but it's crazy times. I know I'm having like stupid first world problems, like our mower deck needs to be replaced and we need a new fuel filter. The grass is like almost up to my knees, and we ordered it weeks and weeks ago, and it's just not coming in. And there's like stupid crap like that you take for granted, being able to just go and buy parts. You know, it's stupid, but you know, whatever. We'll get through this. Yeah, I would imagine that most stores, Kitty, are not getting live animal shipments in. They're just maintaining stocks of food and supplies. I know what I do is I get most of my foods, at least for our four-legged animals, through Chewy. And even those, they send out notifications saying, you know, if you really need this auto ship, you need to ask for it now because it could be a few weeks delayed. So, I mean, it just is what it is. It took me 2 weeks to be able to order groceries online, and then another 2 weeks for them to be able to deliver. You know, which is my preference. I have a table set up in my yard for deliveries. I can leave it out there, clean everything up, let it sit, at least the non-perishables, and then move it in, wash my hands, put it away. But I feel like I'm really lucky. You know, I have all these wonderful aquariums to entertain me. I have my children at home. We have our cats. I have my greenhouse. I have 2 acres to putter around in. The birds are singing. The sky is blue. You know, it could definitely be a lot worse. I had also already bought all my seeds for growing vegetables, so I hope to finally get that stuff started this weekend. You know, so again, I'm really lucky, and I know it just still not an easy time, I think, for anybody. What's the male female ratio for silver tip tetras? I usually do like 2 males to 4 females, but with a lot of the tetras, you know, it can be kind of difficult to tell. Lots of orchid repotting. Yeah, I just went through last week, and I like, now's the perfect time to go into your house plants and trim off any old or brown leaves, clean off any of the surface mung that develops on the top of the pots, scrub out the pots that you want to repot into, you know, wipe down the leaves with some water to get all the dust off. It's perfect time of year for that. I'm excited to move a bunch of my plants outside this year. You know, so there's always plenty of busy work. You know, at least when you live like I do, where I've always been home, and that's how I structure my days anyhow. Let's see. The Microdevaria cubitae, anyone has seen a blue hue to them? Yeah, you often, once they hit maturity on both males and females, will see an iridescent sort of blue-green line down their top line, especially if you're using LED lighting. Did I find the toilet paper? Yeah, I reached out to a friend. I mean, I'd been looking for 2 weeks. Okay, so there's 3 women living at this house, and we had 1 roll of toilet paper between 2 bathrooms. Luckily, I reached out to a few local people, and someone had done the like panic buy hoarding and gave us a few rolls. So, crisis averted, at least for this week. It's so ridiculous, though. Like, I can't believe the things that we can't get. How is my knee? My knee is terrible, but that's how it's always been. So, you know. It is what it is. I'm trying to put off my next surgery until after my kids go to college, so 2 more years, and then we'll see what happens. But I can't imagine having more downtime at this point in my life. I feel like I'm just getting my life back even after 1.5 years. So we shall see. I am largely functional. Hi, Carrie. Do I have any long final? Chase, I am not currently shipping. I don't believe that it's worth the risk to ship with the current stay-at-home orders, not only to my health and my family's health, but with the shipping overloads from all the people ordering everything online, there is a very real risk of delays, unavoidable delays, because obviously, you know, they structure what is considered required based on if it's an essential item or not, and I just don't think it's a good idea to risk potential delays when shipping live animals. So I'm going to wait until the stay-at-home orders are lifted, and then I will resume shipping. And lots of things are breeding, so it shouldn't happen too soon. Although I am going to move a lot of my fish out into the tubs. You know, the first fish that I got in my life, I think it was Danios, like way back when I was a kid. But as an adult, the first livestock I got were African dwarf frogs, and then mystery snail, and then I still have 2 of the neon tetras. They're 17 years old now, that I got again as an adult when I started my first real aquarium then. So yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of delays now, and it's for good reason. I mean, it can't be avoided. It is what it is, but all we can do is sort of try and minimize our impact, because there's a lot of people that need their medications or food or things that are way more important than shipping fish right now. Do I think Carol Baskin killed her husband? Absolutely. 400-gallon fish pond, that's awesome. Other than goldfish, man, there are so many cool natives from down that way that you could stock it with. What about sunfish or flagfish or things like that? The paludarium's doing well. We'll take a look at all the tanks here in a minute. I figured I would take care of a few of the initial questions first for you guys. Can you put rainbows out? Yeah, absolutely. Here's the thing though, like in my experience, when I put rainbows out, the adults get stunning. They do really, really well. They lay tons of eggs, but even with super dense planting and even with all the live foods that grow into a tub, I found that they eat the crap out of their own eggs. So if you want them, if you want to get a yield, you may need to set up a secondary tub or even a floating basket in the tub to be able to move the eggs to for them to hatch so they can't eat them. That's something I may try this year since I have those pseudomugil, the little blue eye rainbows in quarantine. They're going to be ready to go right at the time it's good to start tubbing. So I may just try making my own floating breeder trap and then moving the eggs into that and see how that goes, because I'd rather not give them 2 bins. So we'll see. I've mentioned a few places that I order fish from. For instance, Saks Aquatics. Do you need a wholesale account? No, they ship to anybody. Favorite South American tetra? Probably the green neon or the ruby tetra or the black darter tetra. You know, there's so many good South American fish. I mean, that's like a smorgasbord of delightful fish. I have a very difficult time ever picking favorites. If I'm being honest, because you know, one of the reasons I have so many aquariums is because I like so many fish, and I'm really not even keeping half of what I would like to be keeping right now. But I had to sort of draw the line somewhere with so that I would be able to ethically and responsibly keep up with all the tanks and my yard and my kids and, you know, just general well-being. You know, I'm sure you guys understand. You know, it takes a lot of time and effort to maintain things down here the way I like to do it. I could certainly simplify by setting up central systems, but that's not my preference. Hello from Costa Rica. Oh, I bet it's beautiful there right now. How do I keep my tubs from getting too hot? It's all about placement. You want them to get enough sun for the plants to thrive, so 5 to 6 hours of sun, but enough shade that they don't get too hot. Now, if you're not using filtration, only the surface of the tubs will get really hot, so the fish will go down to the bottom, and then it naturally cools off overnight, at least in my climate. Now, if you are in a climate where it's really profoundly hot all the time, just crank up that air so there's enough dissolved oxygen. You can also do things like I take baskets of plants and put them all around the edges so that it'll shade the surface of the water. That helps way more than you would think. And if you're having like a really profoundly hot spell, you can even go as far as to like go or put up a beach umbrella or a patio umbrella or a tarp to provide a bit more shade. You'd be shocked at the difference in the shade temps of the water and the full sun temps. So really, I mean, I know sometimes there's obstacles because usually where you have access to power, should you want it, isn't always in the shade, but there's any number of things that you can do. Bristlenose and small common pleco. Small common plecos don't stay small for long. I think that's a fish that really shouldn't be sold in stores, honestly. Baker's Dozen, thank you. In my opinion, what's the best fish for first-time subber tubbing? White clouds, white clouds, white clouds. White clouds will produce abundantly. Many of the mid-sized to small danios are amazing. Any of those fish that are on the more temperate side of tropical, because they tend to thrive more with the shifts from day to night. Some of the species that are much more profoundly warm water species don't do as well in the tubs, I think because they're not designed to deal with that seasonal shift. Now they still color up and they still look good, but they don't always breed as well, at least in my experience. Now last year I tried some of the warmer water fish in my greenhouse, and I think that got even just a little too warm. So it's sort of a balancing act. Can I keep tiger barbs with shrimp? Sure, if you want them to eat the babies. It's most likely that the adults will survive, but it's entirely most likely that all the young shrimp would be eaten, even with areas of dense planting. Basic rule of thumb with shrimp is if you want to breed the shrimp, keep it in a shrimp tank, in all honesty. Do I have scuds in my ponds? Yes. There's a bunch of different kinds of scuds. I only tend to get the really little ones. And those don't seem to be particularly bothersome. Diving beetles are a bigger problem, and the dragonfly larvae. How large do Cuban gars get? In the wild, probably about 3 to 4 feet. In the aquarium, if they push 2, that's pretty impressive. The vast majority of these large predatory fish don't get nearly as large in captivity, no matter the size of the tank they're kept in. Even at zoos and public aquariums, you rarely see them what their max potential is. You know, and even the max potential in the wild is different than it was, say, 20 or 30 years ago because of habitat degradation and all of that. So, can you put 10 white clouds in a 1 gallon aquarium? Absolutely not. A 1 gallon aquarium is way too small for anything except for something like Cypress or Danianella, or maybe even like Gracilis barboides. But none of the most commonly available fish, I think, are appropriate. Freshwater bluefish for a 15 tall, axelrodi, Sunadanio axelrodi. What is their common name? I cannot remember their common name in the slightest, but the males get like a rich blue. Otherwise, Danio erythromicron, but those can be pretty skittish. Otherwise, for blue, I mean, neon tetras are a classic, or cardinals. What size did you say that was? A 15 tall? Yeah. Any of those would be good. There's also the Kochu blue tetra, but they can be a little bit nippy and a little bit harder to find. But they're like a powder blue fish. They're really pretty. I haven't kept them for years though. What small fish can go into a 1 gallon aquarium? Danianella translucinda, if you can find them. They're only 1/4 of an inch long. You can fit a group of them. Barboides gracilis, or the dwarf amber barb. Pediocyprus progenica, which I've never seen come in alive, but they're even smaller. So, you know, I really just don't think 1 gallon is particularly appropriate for fish, if I'm being honest. But you could keep shrimp in that, or an African dwarf frog, an apple snail. How do you spell? Well, I'm not going to spell out all those Latin names. Sorry. Danianella is pretty phonetic to look up, and usually if you look those up, you'll find them. Oh, rice fish are another blue one for a 15. The Oryzius wowerae, the Daisy's rice fish, the boys are bright blue. They're gorgeous. I forgot about those, and I have them. They're right there. You guys want to look at some tanks? Minimum tank size for a Cuban gar. I don't know that I am the best one to ask that, because I should have a bigger tank. That's a 240 or 220, 7x2x2, whatever that is. And ideally I would have at least 3 feet front to back. I mean, mine are still small enough that it doesn't matter, but all right, let's look around. Now, I did put some food in some of the tanks, but not in others, so some of them are a bit stirred up. Look at the amount. Can you guys see the amount of bristlenose fry in this tank? I think maybe like 3 spawns have popped out. They're literally just babies everywhere. And this is also the one that has the Phoenix tetra fry. These are the Phoenix tetras. Let's see if we can get you a little closer. You see the males get the red. I've been watching them spar for probably about 6 months now, but never really expected to get fry. And I'm not sure if we'll see any of the fry or not. But there's probably about 8 or 10 of them in here. So I was pretty stoked about that. I haven't bred a whole lot of tetras. I've bred the black darter tetras. I've bred ruby tetras. I've bred a bunch of the pencil fish, but, you know, oh, there's one of the 17-year-old green neons. Or I mean, sorry, regular neons. They actually moved here with me from our last house. There's, I think, 2 left of the 8 that moved here. But I guess they'll be 17 in May. So, but I think one of the reasons that the tetras spawned in this tank is this entire area of this aquarium is so dense you can't even see into it. My barred pencils have not bred in my aquarium, and I moved some out last year. There's the other old neon, and they didn't really do anything outside. I can't remember if I got any fry or not, in all honesty. There's one of the You're not going to be able to see it probably, but there's a couple of the Phoenix fry. These are, let's see if I can find one of the boys. The rice fish. Of course, with my reflect, I'm not sure if you can see how blue they are or not. And then, of course, all my Ginga rubra guppies, of which now I have plentiful quantities. Yeah, I need to get in and prune this tank. It's looking a leggy mess. Everybody's hiding in this tank because they don't like my big scary legs. If we step back a minute, they'll be in. Penjang. These are the natives that are in quarantine. So far, 0 losses. I can't get over how tiny the rainbow shiners are, though. They look like redline rasboras. They're so small. Oh, the rosy loaches? I don't know if we'll be able to see into that tank, but we can try. Hold on, I gotta move a ladder. I mean, you can see just what a state this aquarium is in. I saw some little tiny, like 1/4-inch baby rosy loaches. There's a sparkling gourami coming out. But, oh, there's a rosy loach over there. But you guys are never going to be able to see into this aquarium. This is one, this thing is so wild. It's, I should probably get in there and clear some room for water. But yeah, there's a bunch in here. Now I do generally move the rosies out too, because they breed really well in the summer tubs, as well as these sparkling gourami. So we'll have to see. It's the crypt farm, and then the wild betta tank, the Muppet tank I call it. The gold ring danios and the Briaris brigitei. The biggest tricky part about the rosy loaches is making sure you have a good gender ratio. It can be difficult to get a good amount of females. If I set you guys down for a minute, I can bait some of these tanks. So bear with me for just a second. Here you can look at these tanks, and I'll go around and put some food in so more of the fish are visible. I never know when to bait the tanks because I don't want the food to fall off and you guys to miss seeing the fish. One second. All right. So this is the 75-gallon community of South American minnows. I'm actually considering tossing some shrimp in here. Just for funsies. Now the apistogramma will likely eat some of them, but I think with this like crazy thicket of plants, oops, sorry, many of them would survive. Yeah, I'll show you the 150 in just a second. I just put food in. We could feed the big boys too. This is the paludarium you guys asked about. I think it's looking great. I think I'm going to try some of my short rushes and stuff here in the front on this side. I just have to pull them. Now, this is my eye level of the 150, but you get a lot of the glare from the other side, so I apologize for that. But look at how fired up those yellowfin shiners are. Woo! That is a sexy piece of fish. My goodness. I wish I would have been able to get more of those. You can see the Stiphodons. There's a Borneo sucker. Some of the Kyathit danios. There's another Stiphodon, some Soelia. There's the rainbow shiner. That's what those little tiny guys with the little red line will turn into, is that one. Gorgeous fish. If we look underneath the rocks, if I can hold my hand still enough for you, you will see loaches coming out. Oh, look, there's a coolie. You don't see a whole lot of them. But there's baby coolies in here too. Maybe we will get lucky and see some of the babies. They're only about 1/2 inch long. They're so cute. Spiny loaches. Which that's the spiny loach, the spotty dude. Oh, there's a dwarf zebra hovering loach. Oh, look, there's more coolies. And all of the maze face rhinogobius. Someone asked if there's shrimp in here. I have bamboo shrimp. We can look and see if any of them are out and about. You know, oh, yep, there's one right there. Right on that piece of wood in the bulbitis. Can you guys see it at the top? I'm not sure if you can see it or not because it matches the color of the wood. You might be able to see the stripe down its back. It's fan filtering right now because I just put food in. So there's either 2 or 3 of those. I've never seen more than 2 at a time, but I put 3 in. So who knows, like, how many are actually in here. Yeah, the baby coolies are usually way down back in that cave all the way at the back. So I haven't been able to get any good footage of them to show you guys. Oh, look, there's a silver coolie peek. Whoop, there he went. Never mind. So the silver coolies like to hang out underneath these rocks, which is why I have egg crate underneath them so that they can burrow. Oh, there's a baby coolie. Oh, man. Can you see it between the rock and the wood? Oh, I wish I could focus. It's so little. Oh, I don't think I'm capturing it, but it's so stinking cute. Dang it. But yeah. Dre, I haven't checked up on the goldfish because I haven't left my house in almost 5 weeks. I did plan to go this spring, but I also, you know, it is what it is. Get a taste of the color of some of these fish. I don't know what's going on with that Danio. She looks like she swallowed a marble. Of course, she's also 6 years old, so who knows. Man, I wish those baby coolies would come out. I know you guys didn't get to see them. Do I prefer gravel over sand? It depends on what I'm keeping. And for thank you, Eve, for the super chat. For hill stream, yes, I prefer gravel because they lay their eggs in between it. So, but for things like Coreodoris, I prefer sand, which is why I set up this sand aquarium. Now it does have soil in the back, but it's predominantly sand. You know, I think substrate choice boils down to a few things, like what are your goals as far as plants, what are your goals for your fish, and how well can you maintain it. Sand, especially light pool filter sand like this, is a labor of love for maintenance, especially with sponge filtration. Of course, using a canister or something like that provides a more targeted flow, which tends to keep things a bit cleaner. I just tend to spot clean this aquarium a couple times a week. This is a fish I really love. Trigonostigma espy. See how the copper they are? Man, they're cute. They've got to be in my top 10 favorites of all times. You guys want to see the honeycomb cats? They're so sweet. Zoom, zoom. I haven't actually seen the coolies mate. No. You know, they're kind of elusive. I think they tend to dig pits underneath the large river rocks. I've only ever had them spawn when I've had those really big rocks. Oh, Kitty Sid died about 2 weeks ago, maybe. He just aged out. I moved him down here to live in a floating thing for his last few days so I could feed him with pincets. He just got old. I think he was 2 when I got him, and I had him for 3 years, so he was 5. You know, pet store bettas don't always have the longest lifespan. Still a ton of pygmaeus and histatus in here. No, that the common name for these is not harlequin. These are cousins. I believe these are the lamb chops. Harlequins are more pink and about twice the size of these guys. Best non-live, non-frozen foods for panda cories. Probably something like bug bites, or, you know, any of the foods that are more geared towards catfish should be fine. Where my cribs are. There's the boy. I keep almost hoping that the girl's going to disappear because that means she's on eggs. But I also really don't feel like pulling fry. This tank is all kinds of stirred up because of all these plecos. Captain Cranky Pants is pouting because he got a water change. Someone was asking about the baby shear. There's one of them. Tips for encouraging bristlenose to breed. I can't ever get them to stop breeding, if I'm being honest. Give them more space than you think they need. Give a couple tanks per or a couple tubes per pair. This aquarium probably has about 30 tubes in it, plus all the driftwood caves, plus all the nooks and crannies and botanicals. And what that allows is that instead of the boys potentially sparring for prime real estate, they can each set up camp with their own, in their own spot, and then they just breed. Like, I'm not sure, again, if we'll be able to get the focus, but there's like an obviously brand new hatch there that's even smaller than these ones on the glass. And really everywhere you look in this aquarium, there's just fry. By the sponge filter, there's a teeny tiny. Yeah, Captain Cranky Pants is the king of social isolation. He, I like how he thinks that we can't see him. Captain, really? I know that you're upset with me, but this is dramatic even for you. You're embarrassing me in front of all of our friends. Not cool, dude. You would think he would be over the water changes because I water change him every single day because he's so old. Let's see. I think I baited the shrimp tanks too. Oh, I did decide to keep the little 5-gallon going. The baby plecos eat the same as the adults. Currently, I've been feeding them extreme pellets because they sent me a bunch. I like their catfish scrapers quite a lot. They don't need special food, even though they're small. But yeah, so this is going. I stuck a little substrate ball up here, and it has a little sword plant and some cryptocorynes and some hydrocotyledon and some moss. And then this is some terrarium plant, and then I threw some pothos in there, and there's some more pothos over there. So I'm hoping that I can train this pothos to grow across and then up and around the frame for the hill stream. Oh, you guys wanted to see that fern I have growing out of the filter. Let's see if I can climb this ladder. So I have no idea what kind they are. It was this huge clump of native ferns, and you can see the stuff that's not in the water is dead, but the stuff that's on top is growing. So I'm hoping that's going to make a huge mound and be really cool at some point. We're going to look at shrimp. It's the yellows. There's a deceptive quantity in here, but if you look into the plants, you can see how many there are. These are 15-gallon aquariums. And you can see they need a new leaf. That it was an almond leaf, and now it's just a stem. White clouds. Oh, the glare in this fish room. All you guys see is my nerdy face reflecting on the glass. There are flagfish in here. There's endlers and L450 in here, which You can sort of see one of the zebra plecos there. This is those live bearers, and then my snowball shrimp and Azaline spixie snails. Here are more endlers of a different strain and L173Bs. This is supposed to be my Amano shrimp farm, but I think I'm down to like just a few. This is cherry shrimp. Shelly tank number 1. This also has the Synodontis lucipinus. This, I guess I didn't bait this one. This is my red relly and tiger shrimp tank. This is yet more flagfish. You might be able to see them now. See them in the back there. There's a ton of them. And there's a bunch of fry in here too. Yeah, you can see the fry at the front. Yes, my kitchen is completely free of fish tanks. My entire upstairs in my house. These are the wild Betta mahachiensis. They are begging for food because I forgot to feed them. Look at them. They are very insulted that I was so neglectful. How dare I? Shelly tank number 2. There's 2 pair in here. And again, you can see how much they've excavated. I think as things get even warmer down here, we're going to start seeing lots of babies. Look at that mug. My yellowfin white clouds. There was a new spawn in here. There's some teeny tiny fry. You can see them in the back there. The fish in quarantine. These are glow light danios and ember tetras. They're doing awesome. And then the rainbows, we'll have an easier time seeing them from the top. Everybody's doing fine. I only heat the room. And then the big boys. This is the Polypterus and Lacari. There's 3 of them. I know it's hard to see with the glare. My tropical gar. I'm looking for the Cuban. Oh, he's down there. There's the Cuban. But yeah, so there's the big boys. They are also insulted that we did not feed them yet. But they ate yesterday, and I don't usually feed them 2 days in a row. They like to plank in this big bulbitis fern. The big boys eat these pellets, which are actually a bit small. These are for the Polypterus. These are a sinking. And then I feed quite a lot of this to them. And then I also, if fish or shrimp is on sale at the grocery store, I buy that and chop it up for them. And then I also use these food sticks for the gars. They're kind of small though. The problem I have is there's very few foods on the market that are big enough for fish of this size. Like I think this is like a $20-some bag of food, and it might last 2 weeks if I'm feeding it as a primary diet. So these are Hikari food sticks, and this is Extreme Monster. But their catfish scrapers are bigger. They're just flatter. They didn't send me any of those. But that's actually what I prefer for the polys because they're more disc shaped instead of round. And with the way these guys' mouths are shaped, they can eat the wafers better than the super round pellets. I mean, of course, they'll eat anything at this size. But also, Hikari Massivore is really good, but again, it's super expensive. I used to buy it in 2.2-pound bags. I would get 5 at a time, but now that would be like $300 or something ridiculous. This species was never shy, but they were never kept with anything but each other and my gars. So, I think they feel very much secure in their setup. Yeah, bugs are great. I have a cricket infestation down here in the fish room, so when I find the crickets, I split them between Captain Cranky Pants and these guys. Yeah, Linda, it's a real problem. I mean, there's just not that many good foods available in the market, especially in relationship to the amount of fish that get huge that are sold. I think that Northfin makes some, but my fish don't really like Northfin, so I haven't used it. Um, so yeah. What do you guys say? You want to take questions for a few more minutes? Oh, look, now you can see that the barbs and stuff are out. But yeah, I mean, everything down here is very much business as usual. All right. No, I get to jiggle you around for a minute while I set the tripod back up. My apologies, guys. Oh, and boy, are we crooked. Can you tell I'm a professional YouTuber? All right. What's my favorite Cory cat? I like the orange lasers. I also really like Habrosus for the dwarf species. I really like all of the Ascadoras. My lights 12 on, 12 off. No, my lights are on for 8 hours a day. I guess if I set the camera, I might be able to feed the big boys behind me. I'll go feed them for you guys. You guys will hear the gars slapping shortly. I'll keep my big fat head out of your way. See if you can see them. I don't use CO2 or fertilizers in any of my aquariums. I think it was Panda that asked. I think my chat is frozen on my computer. I look like Pink. I've gotten that most of my adult life. Technically, she looks like me because I'm a year older. Although she's much better preserved than I am. Pink and I lived in roughly the same area in the early 2000s, late 90s and early 2000s, so there was a lot of mix-up. I don't feed flakes, Alice. I think they're messy. And usually flake is like the leftover stuff that's been extruded, and it's just not my preference. All right, what questions do you guys have for me? I need to catch up. What do I think about Pistogramma Hongsley? I love all of Pistogramma. One point down here, I had 30 kinds of Apistos I was breeding. What's the size of that can of krill? Let me go look. It's 14 ounces or 400 grams. You see the big boys feeding? Do you hear that slapping? You see the water moving at the surface? So the day that my little gar jumped out, I heard that noise. So it wasn't at all unusual. Like, you hear it all the time. How old am I? I am 41. I'll be 42 in September. I'm an old lady, for YouTube anyway. What species of Pistogramma was the most fun? I really liked the wild Cockatoides. I really liked working with Panduro. I liked the Elizabethae. I liked some of the mouth brooding species. Dude, you know, again, it's like picking my favorite child. You like different fish for different reasons, be it their looks, their behavior, their parenting, their size, you know. So for me, as like an uber super nerd, I have the hardest time like picking favorites. I just love fish, you know, and that's how all of this happened, because I just love them. Do I keep angels? No, I don't like angels. Angels, while beautiful, are, for their size, some of the meanest fish. And, you know, if you get a pair, I mean, if you're having one angel, that's different. But if you're, you know, you buy a group of babies or whatever to grow up and you get a pair, man, they can destroy other fish. I do like discus, and I used to keep and breed discus, but, you know, I really I prefer the teeny tinies. I just think that you have so much more versatility in an aquarium with really small fish. Um, you know, that I prefer it. In fact, I'm actively working on my next book, which is going to be, I can tell you guys the title. It's called Redefining Nano, and it talks a lot about the benefits of stocking more moderately sized aquariums with smaller fish because of the natural behaviors and breeding that you can achieve and establish even in a community aquarium. Someone asked about my knee. I have to have a revision. I'm putting it off for the next 2 years. I don't fall down anymore, but I am in constant pain. I have bone spurs all on the back side of my kneecap, so they need to take that out, cut all those off, and fit it with a gasket. It's an unfortunate and rare, complication. So, it is what it is. I'm just lucky. Now let's see. What should I use for summer tubbing? Plastic stock tanks. I really like those Rubbermaid stock tanks. The 70-gallon ones are my favorite. They have the shallow 70 or the tall 70. I would really look on Craigslist, Kijiji, or whatever or Facebook Marketplace, because this time of year, a lot of people that have horses or cattle replace some of those that have cracks around the lip, and they're perfectly fine for summer tubbing, as we rarely fill them all the way up to the brim like you do to water animals. Great job on my weight loss, thanks. I can't believe it's been almost 3 years. I'm currently on the Corona diet because, it's hard to get as much fresh stuff, and I only eat fresh stuff, so we'll see what happens. Don't make fun of me if I put on a few pounds. Any plans for more beginner videos? I never know, I've made, oh God, I don't know how many videos on almost, in 4.5 years on this channel. I feel like I've covered so many of those topics, but I also realize that a lot of those videos are 3 years old or older now. So I've thought about revisiting a bunch of them. So I don't know. Let me know what topics you'd like. I am always open to suggestions. I want to give you guys the content you want, and you can probably tell I can talk about fish literally all day, all night, and still have more things to say because it consumes so much of my life and almost all of my adult life, and I just think it's such a fun thing to talk about, So I'm really grateful to have all of you that sit around and get geeky with me and that contribute in the comments section and all of that stuff, because I don't encounter other adults on a daily basis. So you guys are really my main means of communication, living out here where I do, even when it's not during social isolation. Let's see. I'm not going to do a dirt tank. I can tell you that right now. I am not very good at planting plants and not moving them. If you do a dirted tank, you really want to plant with conviction so you're not stirring all that stuff up into the water column. It's just not my preference. I would much rather pay more for a nice bag of aquarium formulated soil that's been fired that I can plant and then prune and then move things around and change my mind 47 times and not have the cloudiness or the nutrient imbalance that can sometimes occur. Now, I'm not saying dirty tanks are bad. Many people do them really well, but I think it's important to know one's personal limitations. And one of my personal limitations is that I am way too impulsive to have a dirty tank. So it's just not for me. Chris is essential personnel. He works in the power plant industry, so he's had to be at work. Someone asked about the greenhouse tanks. I have all the plants growing. I only have maybe an inch or so of water in each of the tubs. One of the things I thought maybe for next Wednesday's live stream was that we could flood those and take a look at some of those plants. So I have to test my connection. Maybe I'll try going Instagram live out there to see if my connection can support it. I live way in the middle of the country, and so when I'm down here in the Fishroom, I can utilize my Wi-Fi, but signal, even just cell signal, is spotty in this area no matter your provider, and I'm sure with all these people home, it's not better than when it's usually just me. So I will try and test that out sometime this week and see if I can go live from the greenhouse on Instagram. And if my channel doesn't break, or if my video doesn't break up and stuff like that, then we can try going live maybe from the greenhouse next week to take a look. I think that'd be fun. I could show you guys the bog garden. There's so many flower spikes. It's so rewarding. I have all these crazy like annual flowers coming up that I didn't know I planted. I already gave suggestions for that. Well, maybe I really think my chat down here is frozen. Let me. Is it unfortunate? I really should remember. There we go. What's my favorite ocean animal? I don't have one. Aquarium thoughts, stronger Wi-Fi would be nice, but I have what's available here. There's no fiber optic available here. There's one choice. In fact, like we just got like some public utilities last year. We didn't even have public gas. We still don't have public water. You know, like I live in farm country. It is what it is. So it is what it is. Let's see. Have I kept green or blue tiger barbs? No. I mean, they're great fish, and I think they're a really underrated fish. But I haven't worked with them, and I don't have a good reason why. I really don't. I think they're a wonderful fish. Will I or have I ever kept brackish or solar? No. I haven't. I may be being tempted to the dark side in the future. I've been talking to a good friend of mine about that. And, you know, here's the thing. I'm really afraid if I start keeping salt water that, like, okay, so I don't do hobbies a little bit clearly. I mean, I got interested in carnivorous plants, and now I have 2 bog gardens. I got interested in summer tubbing, and now I have a greenhouse and 18 tubs in my yard. You know, I got interested in freshwater planted aquariums, and now I have 50 plus of them. My concern is that if I do salt water and I really love it, like I'm going to need a second house, and I don't make enough money for that. You know, I make enough money to just barely run this. So, you know, I'm tempted to potentially maybe someday put a saltwater aquarium in my living room where it would be a one and done. I can't expand it up there. I would really love to play around with some of the corals and some of the really cool shrimp and crabs and things like that. I'm not particularly tempted by the fish, despite them being really colorful. You know, but again, for me, it's a real slippery slope on being able to control my, oh yeah, and I got into houseplants, and you guys see I got rid of my television, and, you know, now I have a wall of plants. Like, I can't seem to do things a little bit, and I think it's because my brain gets so engaged. I just want to learn, and in order to learn, you need to try new things, and yeah. So, you know, it is what it is. It is more expensive, but I am in the fortunate position of being an influencer, and why, for the life of me, I cannot get any sponsors to pay me. I can often get product, at least, that I need. So, I mean, it's kind of unfair, like, in comparison to you guys trying to start it. But I've certainly put my time in over the past 15 years of doing lectures and traveling and spending time at shows, and then doing YouTube and writing books and articles, that I can understand why they're willing to send me stuff. I would rather them pay me so that I could buy what I want, but that's a topic for an entirely different day. What's my favorite color? Orange. Orange is my favorite color. Does anyone know if I sell the stand labeling? We never had them made, Evan. The per piece cost would have been so much without having at least like 20 pairs pre-sold. Like, we would have just eaten our shorts on that one. I mean, they're a wonderful idea, and we'll continue to make them and use them on my stands. And maybe if we ever do another rebuild down here, and we're going to have a bunch of different sets made, maybe at that time we could, because then the cost would be offset by my need. But, you know, I didn't want to spend like $600 having leveling feet made to potentially not sell them. It just, we don't have like savings or things like that to have the ability to do so. I mean, we have the plans, we have it all planned out, so if in the future that changes, I'll certainly let you know. Smallest species of pleco I keep. Probably clown plecos, Pinnaculus macus, which I forgot I was keeping. I just saw them the other day, which is a terrible thing to say, but you know, they're kind of elusive. All right, we'll take a few more questions, and then I'm really hungry because I didn't eat before this, and I need to mow my lawn if I can make the deck on the mower work well enough. Any Medaka rice fish? I know I have the Rhizius rollerae. They're my preference. They're super easy. Throw them in a tub with a bunch of surface plants and some underwater plants, and you will have a ton. How do I keep algae growing on plants and glass? I clean the glass once a week. And as far as the plants, I try and do a good job or pay attention to the... Oh, hi, Jack. Studio Aquatica's here. Try and pay attention to the stocking density and plant density and find my balance there. I have unusually and uncommonly good water, so I think a lot of my success comes from my source water. But I mean, I really have no idea why I'm so incredibly successful with the variety of plants that I can raise with no fertilizers and no CO2, and really not that bad of an algae. Oh, I'm glad that helped you, Edward. Yeah, you know, you just need to keep that TDS under 100 usually to prevent a lot of that staining from happening. I'm really thankful that tip was able to help you. All right, well, thank you guys as always for coming out to see me, and remember to check in on my community tab in the next few days. I'll put up a couple ideas for topics for next week, and you guys can vote on that. I'll also put something on my Instagram, and if you're following me on Instagram, which is @MsJinxed, I'm going to try going live out there maybe sometime this week to test out that connection, you know, and once this video processes or whatever the heck it does, if you have any suggestions as well for topics that you would like to see, you can put them there as well. And again, thank you so much for the super chats. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you next Wednesday at 1, but before that in regularly scheduled videos. Have a good day, guys.